months past his retirement age because of all the time he was furloughed when he was younger. And he said, under this, I would have got credit for all those retirement days, right? He said all those months would have been credited and I could retire on time. That is true. You continue, you'll never be furloughed, you'll never lose those months for retirement, you'll never lose those months for vacation, you'll never be without health. Never be furloughed.
Now, in this agreement, the way, like I said, I might be wrong, but the way I read it, is understand it says, this agreement will create jobs. How will it create jobs if you're cutting a man or taking a man off of the engine, off the switch crew? How is this going to create a job?
Here. I don't want to take over. Every time the switch has to be thrown out there, every time a pin's pulled, a handbrake tied or untied, it has to be one of us. It has to be one of us. There's no way to get around it. If they have a train master, if they have a engineer throw a switch, we're seeking strike it. That is exclusively under this agreement.
We should put the pickets up for having one man on a damn train.
2 hours. How long was the strike? 2 hours.
I can't tell you that. You know how that works. But I'm just telling you. Yeah, well, I was too.
No, I mean, it's, you know. That's right.
But I'm just telling you, that's where the work comes from.
Okay, and also, I guess another one of my questions is, could you define what the company means by downturn in business? Is it,
I'm trying. I'm trying.
Yeah. Well, let's go to it.
Yeah.
This might help.
Okay.
Right. These are just, this is a scenario I just made up out of my head. It's just a sample, an example of how this works. Just go with me in my fantasy here. And I tried to keep it simple because I couldn't, frankly, this thing will boggle your mind if you get too complicated with yard boards and everything. We have no yard service at Terminal A, just for simplicity's sake. Okay, Terminal A on 5/1/14, there were a total of 75 ground service positions, 20 conductors in pool service, 10 locals, 10 road switchers, and 50 employees on the conductor's extra board. Assume that the 2014 crew cost system proposal was ratified and has now been fully implemented. Also assume that all 75 employees at Terminal A on 5/1/14 are all PGSE protected. On 6/1/15, there are now 45 ground service positions at Terminal A, 15 master conductors, 10 road switchers that only have a conductor on them now, 10 locals that only has a conductor on them, 10 employees on the conductor's extra board. It's been cut by 5. There are now 30 PGSEs who are unable to hold a position at Terminal A. Of those 75 original, 30 of them now can't hold, and they've all requested reserve status. In order to determine reserve board eligibility, pre-1/1/15 conditions must first be theoretically restored. For this scenario, assume that the mileage of all through freight trains during the last checking period prior to 6/1/15 would call for 20 conductors. Okay? So we're going to restore the pre-1/1/15 condition to see how many of these 30 people are eligible for the reserve board. If we go back and restore today's condition. So restoring today's conditions means that the 15 master conductors have to theoretically come off. 20 conductor positions have to be theoretically restored because our mileage here in the last checking period calls for 20 pool turns. You got to put 10 brakemen back on the locals, and you got to put 10 brakemen back on the road switchers. The extra board must be increased back to 15. It has to be staffed at the same level it was on May 1st, 2014, which was 15. So there's your restoration formula. You take off 15 master conductors, you restore the 20 pool conductors, you restore 10 local brakemen and 10 road switcher brakemen and 5 extra conductors. That's a total of 30. In this scenario, all 30 PGSEs who requested reserve status are eligible for the reserve board because they can't hold because of this agreement. You can't change those numbers. You can't make the numbers be something else. They are what they are. Okay, there's a second scenario, just to kind of help the difference between reserve and retention. Okay, assume the same pre and post numbers, the 75 people at Terminal A and the same job numbers now, same current job numbers. The same 30 PGSEs have requested reserve status, except in this second scenario, because of a downturn in business, pool regulation miles now calls for 19 turns instead of 20. And one local has been abolished because of a downturn in business. So your restoration formula, 15 master conductors come off again. You can only restore 19 pool conductors because your mileage only calls for 19 turns. You restore 9 brakeman positions on the 9 locals that are remaining because one has been abolished. You restore all 10 brakemen on the road switchers because they're all still on. And you restore the extra board pack back to the 5-1-14 numbers, which is 15. That's plus 5. So in this case, your restoration formula is minus 15 master conductors plus 19 pool conductors plus 9 local conductors plus 10 or 9 local brakemen plus 10 road switcher brakemen plus 5 extra conductors. That's 28. So in this scenario, of the 30 PGSEs who've requested reserve status, 28 are eligible for the reserve board because those 28 can't hold because of this agreement. The remaining 2 can't hold because of a downturn in business, and they go to the retention. And you can plug different numbers in there, and it comes out. It's just going to come out to whatever the numbers are.
And then the retention point, you get paid 100% of
The reserve board.
reserve income.
The reserve board is the first level of protection that you can't hold, and then below that is the retention.
Will the company have have to use this to figure how many people they have? Is it going to be mandatory that they keep so many people on these boards, or will that be their discretion?
The number is determined by your existing condition. How many trains? I don't see how they can.
If they stole everybody on the reserve board, instead of the downturn business, just say, well, we're just going to have 2 more slots at reserve.
They could. We wouldn't stop them. I wouldn't say no.
The reserve one.
You're just saying, just go ahead and put all 30 numbers. There's nothing in the agreement that says they can, and we're not gonna say no.
So, say this for instance, say tomorrow. The ones of us that do the miles, the local chairman do the miles and stuff. So if we need to do a snapshot of what it was 5-1,
Just for the extra board. No, not for your miles, because your miles, go back to the last slide before that.
and then what we had staff.
No, whoa.
We want to know what our numbers are going to be.
There.
Yeah, that's what.
There. In our exercise, our theoretical exercise here, it's now 6/1/15, and we've got 30 people requesting reserve board status. In order to determine how many of those 30 people are actually eligible for the reserve board, you've got to restore your pool. And the pool is restored to whatever your mileage number would have called for in the previous checking period. So the last half of May, you look at how many trains ran and what would that have called for as far as the number of pool turns.
The last half of May 15th.
The one that, in my theoretical exercise here, we are at 6/1/15. So your last checking period would have been the last half of May.
But he said if we started tomorrow, so your checking period would have been whatever, however far back you checked for tomorrow.
And I left that open to just the last checking
Called for
period.
15 turns, that's what.
Well, I mean, what's confusing me is you're trying to figure out of the people requesting how many can be accepted for, right?
Yeah, but that's one of your numbers, go down 1 or 2.
So what I was getting at is what date,
When's the checking period? It's a checking period previous to the guy asking for reserve
Well,
status.
so no.
It's just like
this
they
is all-
regulate
if
the
this
miles
is
now.
If this
Yes.
is now June of 2018,
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
We don't have two attorneys, so there's no check.
We're gonna theoretically restore the pool
To what?
to today's conditions. You go back and check your miles.
For 5/1 of 14.
No.
That's
For the-
what's supposed to
Okay. Well, here, you don't have a conductor pool, I guess, is that what you're saying? But you got engineers, you still know how many train starts there were.
Okay, I guess. Trains are still.
You know how
way
many
back down.
conductors would have been on the trains that
You
day?
still check miles, Mr.
Yes,
President.
yes. And you don't have to keep.
I thought you went back to 5/1 of 14 to see what you had there.
No, for the extra board you do,
Okay.
but not for the pool.
Okay. So I need to snapshot 5/1/14 for the conductor.
Yeah.
So the extra board, when will it be? It'll go back to the last half? Say this was
Extra board.
implemented January 1st, 2015. They would check the last half of December?
No,
No.
May the
May the
first.
first.
May the 1st.
Well, in this,
For the extra board,
in my theoretical exercise, we're at 6/1/15, we're not at January 1st. I fast forwarded up 6 months, just to get away from the January 1 date.
And now, will the extra board or whatever, will it still maintain the guarantee, or is the guarantee gone?
The extra board guarantee is not affected by this.
Is there going to be a master conductor extra board?
There's nothing in the proposal that requires one. They can have one if they want one. If they come to us and say, we want to put on a master conductor extra board here, we haven't negotiated the guarantee rate or anything else on that board.
Why?
They can just run it off the conductor's extra board. Listen, we've got some more stuff to get to here. There's not gonna be that many extra master conductors. The master conductor position is an assigned position. We're gonna have an assigned starting time, 5-day assignment with 2 days off. It's gonna be a regular job.
12-hour shifts, 8-hour shifts? Don't know.
Could be, if they keep you out there.
Well, I mean, I understand that. Is there going to be 3 shifts though, like there is in the yard?
You've got, again, and it's in here, you've got a basic day rule like you've got right now in the yard. If you come in and work for 1 minute, you get 8 hours. There's an 8-hour basic day rule for that. So no matter if he works less than 8 hours, he still gets 8 hours pay.
Is there anything that says how many master conductors there will be?
No.
What about switching film today? I guess that's gone.
No. Arbitrary.
For,
No, it's gone.
are we talking about the master conductor?
You said the state.
What exactly? What would be no, it shouldn't. What claim are you talking about? Oh, the 10 hours? It's unaffected. It's still there.
They removed the silver from my job, and now I'm a one-man.
That doesn't make it a single position assignment.
It does not?
It does not.
Even though I'm one man, I'm not saying.
Under the terms of it, and listen, that rule is from the 1919 General Orders. It's been around a while. And there was a distinct difference between a crew, which the rule applied to, and the single position guys that it does not apply to. This agreement, by reducing the yard crew down to 1 guy, doesn't make it a single position assignment in the context of the big data set.
So the penalty day still would apply with
Yes.
1 man running it in,
Yes.
a remote engine?
Although they have approached me several times about doing something with that. Apparently you guys are killing them with that down here.
No?
Not?
No, it's the only reason we got 3 shifts, so.
Yeah.
It's a defense to keep them from having us out there 12
Right,
hours.
right.
It's like the CSX, 12 hours every
Yes.
day.
And it's still alive and well.
We
I'm just
very
saying
rarely get
that they
involved.
have approached me about, can we talk about doing something with the big data?
Still 8 hours.
I got one
understand.
something question.
But you
Because
work
I'm the only
2
one
hours
that
overtime.
applies to. I transferred in here after May 1st. Am I not PTSD
Where'd you transfer in from?
from the coastline?
Same version.
After May 1st?
After May 1st.
Not until they do something.
It's about screwed. I'll see you guys.
know, as much as I would have liked to have protected the whole world and protect the unborn and protect everybody, but they're only gonna let us have so much.
Well, anybody hired right now, so somebody that hired right now is protected.
That hasn't
But I'm holding
established.
a job right now, and I'm gonna sit here and I transfer my union dues and all that stuff, and I vote on this contract, I'm voting myself screwed.
I guess we know how you're gonna.
You won't be protected, but you're still gonna have all the benefits that you agreed. But you won't be protected.
You just won't be eligible for
Just won't be able to hold the
reserve.
reserve.
You got it, don't you?
You're all good, bro.
He's protecting you all.
What's his name?
Josh.
Josh. Here's an example for you. I've been out here 20 years this November. I am not a protected employee under the 1980 crew consist agreement. However, I have enjoyed those benefits for the last 20 years. And if we did nothing and rode that 1980 crew consist agreement out, I'm probably going to enjoy those benefits to the end of my career. So even though you would not participate in some of the benefits, like the reserve board and stuff, the fact that you're going to have some protection just because you fit in between there, I think is going to apply, just as I have under the 1980. And I'm sure there's many of you that are in the same boat, that have fired out 15, 20 years ago, and we get to have a conductor on that train every time right now because of that 80 crew consist agreement.
Yeah, but I'm here right now, that's what I'm saying.
You bet.
If somebody right now hires out tomorrow, he goes to reserve board and I don't.
A new hire.
Yeah.
Well, here on that same note, we have bar house right now that's all over the country right now. And they were they were here, but they were gone May 1st.
Just temporarily.
That don't count.
They hired
Here. They hired here and still have seniority here. Their seniority is just kind of on a placeholder while they're off on
But the
temporary.
guys that left here and went to Kansas City, Santa Fe side, that are working out there right now voluntarily are screwed, right?
Did they go on a temporary?
No, some of them
They
went
just
on.
changed work?
Yeah. Now, they're not gonna be
No.
protected under this rule, right? I told him that, I told him, I hope I'm wrong, but I think,
But again, I'm gonna tell them the same thing I just told Josh. More than likely. And guys, we're not trying to make you a promise on